This is my dad's old Nissan Frontier that he's owned for almost 20 years. So for his birthday, I'm going to try and fix everything wrong with it to make sure that he has a reliable, dependable truck again. Because to put it lightly, this one's got some issues and a little over a decade of deferred maintenance to catch up on. So this episode, we're diving deep into it and fixing everything wrong to make this truck drive as close to new again as I can make it. Let's get started. Under the hood here, we've got our fancy boat anchor of an engine with a supercharged slap on it, the VG33ER. These are reliable. There's really not much that goes wrong with them. And the biggest thing to take care of is a timing belt. The last time this thing had a timing belt done was like 12 years ago. It's been a while. It's definitely due just based off of age alone. We're going to be doing a timing belt and at the same time a water pump. We need to do a radiator because I broke this vent nipple off. That was my fault. Next thing we're going to address is also the brake fluid. I can see that it's nice and brown. We're going to do a little brake flush, make sure my dad can actually stop. We'll do other basic maintenance items as well. Air filter, fuel filter, spark plugs, cap, wire, rotor. There are some valve cover gasket leaks that's leaking down onto the exhaust manifolds. Right now it's not too bad, but it will get worse. I think everything else is going to be underneath the car because it doesn't really drive the best. The main issue is that it's just not smooth. The shifts are rough, there's a whole truck vibration over 45 miles an hour, and there's a slight pull to the right. Let's see if we can find some potential culprits. All right, tight. All right, and passenger side. Oh, did you hear that? There's like the slightest little bit of play. All right, time to go underneath and see what secrets lie below. Under the engine, everything's pretty dry. Front drive shaft is tight. Made it here to the transmission mount, and this one's cracked, maybe a little collapsed. Probably worth replacing with how easy it is to access. This guy here, I noticed, it's got some cracks in it, and it moves, and I think this is the vibration that we're feeling. So this is definitely worth replacing. We're gonna have to pull the drive shaft out to do this. Yeah, we'll just add those things to the list, and we'll be good. Of course, when I picked up the truck for my dad, it had a check engine light. But when I drove it here, now the check engine light is gone. So this is a magical problem that fixes itself, I guess. But let's make sure that the codes are still there. All right, we got 3 codes. P0300, that's a pending code. And then we have another one pending, P0420. Yeah, let's just go ahead and delete. Next thing I'm going to do is check for vacuum leaks. I strongly suspect one. So I have this little smoke machine. This is a cheap one off Amazon. It works, and link is in the description if you're interested in what this one is. But you just connect it up to your battery. It has a little wick in here that burns mineral oil and makes an awful smell. And then it fills up the whole system with smoke. Any leaks you should be able to see with a flashlight. It helps when it's a little dark out and you have the flashlight. You can really catch the little whispers of fumes coming out. One thing to do is also will help relieve pressure. Let's have that undone. We have smoke right there, and that's after the MAF, so that would definitely cause us problems. I did a quick check around the rest of the engine bay and couldn't find any more leaks, so I think we're good. On closer inspection, the intake tube is starting to crack all around the joints, so it's going to just get replaced. Since we're now in that stage where we're waiting for parts, we might as well start doing the next easiest thing, which is replacing all the driveline fluids. This truck's never had any of them done, so we're going to try and do the rear differential first. Should be the easiest one to reach to and everything. We don't even have to jack it up. We'll go ahead and do the fill plug first, not the drain plug, in case we can't undo the fill plug. We don't empty out our diff and screw ourselves. So hopefully it comes out because it looks pretty crusty down there. anchor myself against the tire. Oh, that's just, casual rust flaking off. All right, let's see. Oh my God. That's a lot of particles. It is normal to have some. This Frontier is equipped with a clutch-type limited slip differential, or maybe more accurate to say was equipped, as I think a lot of our clutches drained out with the old fluid. Other way to refill, it's important to use a limited slip compatible fluid on the off chance that it still has some life left. And refilling is easy. We just keep going until it comes out the fill hole, and that's it. On to the next one. All right, next up, transfer case. Jeez. This has obviously never been changed. And I think that's ATF. The service manual specifies either ATF or gear oil as appropriate, but I'm going to replace with what was filled from the factory, and that's ATF. The same rules apply, just keep filling until it comes out of the fill port. I'm going to save the transmission fluid, drain, and fill later as I'm waiting for the filter kit to come in. So we'll just move on to the front differential next. Oh, man. The front differential was a serious struggle. I really don't like using the impact on these plugs because they're so easy to strip out, but hand tools was not cutting it. Neither was the impact alone for the drain plug, as I had to break out the MAP gas to get some heat into it. And only then did it slowly start to turn out. This truck doesn't see a lot of four-wheel drive unless it's wintertime, so the fluid here doesn't look too bad. However, it should still get replaced simply just due to age. Okay. Alright, this just gets standard 80W90. No LSD in the front, so this just gets normal stuff. While I finish this up, parts have finally started to arrive. May have gotten a little bit more than I expected. The first and easiest thing we're going to do is fix that vacuum leak with this new hose. So let's go ahead, slap this in, start this thing, and make sure that it doesn't leak anymore. New air filter. I have a strong suspicion that the random cylinder misfire was caused by that vacuum leak. And since the codes have been cleared, we just need to start it, take it out for a spin, and see if the code comes back. So far, it runs fine and seems okay. The test drive was mostly a success. I didn't make it worse, but it was hard to say if I made it better. The really strange part, however, was when setting up the camera to get the shot coming back in, I restarted the truck while hot, and that caused it to run really rough. Check it out. Oh, now it's running really weird. You hear it misfiring. Now that I've restarted it while it's hot and shaking. Okay, no check engine light, but we have a code P0304, which is cylinder misfire, cylinder number 4. So let's go start looking at cylinder number 4, see if we can find anything. I wanted to start with something easy before tearing this thing apart, so I checked to make sure that the cylinder number 4 spark plug wire was actually attached and not disconnected. Unfortunately, it's just never that easy, so need to dig deeper. I verified again with the smoke machine that there are no additional vacuum leaks, so we're good there. And went ahead and just replaced the distributor cap and rotor since they're so easy to access and they're really cheap, just to see if it would make any difference. Well, that looks a little crispy. Not the worst I've seen. What a fresh one's supposed to look like. Well, there is definitely some buildup on every single point. All right, let's see if that made it better or worse. And it's still shaking. Something is still wrong. So this is where we're at now. Cap, rotor, no difference. And I've not been able to find any other additional vacuum leaks. Now, luckily, this is a cylinder number 4 misfire. Well, maybe unluckily, but at least it's narrowed down to a single cylinder. So that means we're looking at injector, spark plug, or something else catastrophic. Hopefully not. But in order to reach either of those, we're going to have to take the supercharger off. And you got to do that to do the valve cover gaskets, which I've got new ones of. So might as well start tearing this thing apart. And while we're in there, do the injector test and replace the spark plugs. Of course, I didn't manage to film it, but I made a catastrophic mistake by fumbling a bolt while removing the supercharger, and it slid perfectly down the intake runner and into the engine. I really like fishing, but magnet fishing for bolts that fall into engines is not my idea of fun, especially as the magnet comes up empty on every hole. Alright, magnet on the stick yielded no results, so let's try camera on a stick. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh ho ho! Crisis averted. There we go. The coolant hoses in the back were impossible to remove off the pipes without bending them on the intake, as they were just corroded in place. I ended up just cutting them off, which was really easy to remove, but later down the line, it made things a little bit more interesting on reinstallation. What the hell? This number 6 injector connector actually ended up being broken. You can see the top of it has come off. Get a new one. Next, we're going to go ahead and check resistance. Make sure leads say 0. Factory service manual specifies between 10 and 14 ohms. Okay, number 2 cylinder is 12. This is going to be number 4, which is the one I suspect might have an issue. 1.5 mega ohms. Let's do number 6. 11.9. 11.9 is good. That's good as well. 12. Good. So yeah, confirmed. Number 4 injector is actually bad, but since one of them is bad, we're going to go ahead and try and get them serviced. So time to yank them out. This is as far as we need to go for this assembly on the top of the engine. Very important to clean out all the spark plug holes and around the injectors, as once you go to remove them, all that dirt and random crap that collects will find its way straight into the cylinder. While the injectors are being neatly held in place, I can use the impact screwdriver and a couple light taps to release the 2 Phillips screws and a retaining plate that have not moved for the truck's entire life. Doing this on the bench would suck, so it's easier to do it here. Alright, we'll let those penetrate, and then let's move to the spark plugs. Rusty that is. There was actually water sitting in these spark plug holes, by the way. I got sidetracked after looking for that lost spark plug and just went back to pulling out the fuel rail. Don't be like me and leave the spark plug holes open, because you seriously risk dropping stuff down them. I'll get to it later after we finish a couple other things. Well, and that's it. These three, they are stuck. Gonna have to figure something else out. In the meantime, I'm gonna pull off the valve covers. All right, look who's been doing their oil changes. Looks good. All right, this gasket's pretty firm, but it's not the worst that I've ever experienced. The worst one was on the 86 300ZX Turbo that I had to beat out with a chisel. That was bad. This one, yeah, it's on its way there. Ooh, nice and pliable. There are these little tabs that secure the gasket in place. This is the original PCV valve, and it's supposed to rattle, and it doesn't. If you noticed when we took the valve covers off, it was really dark on one side, probably because this wasn't venting. All right, valve covers done. Time to just slap them on the truck, you know, like that. Done. It's time to finally finish the spark plugs, which means laying like this in the engine bay for what seems like forever. All what's left is to torque them down, and we can call them done. All right. Okay, I'm going to do something that you really shouldn't do, which is I'm going to beat these injectors out. Now, hear me out on this. I think that I can actually 3D print a little mount and a plastic drift to try and actually beat these out, because there's no other way I can do it. Just twisting underneath, these do not twist. They refuse to, they don't move. And if you try and pry it from underneath, like I was able to on the other three, you can just hear the brittle plastic cracking. It's just brutal. They're so frozen in there. What I do think I can do, take some measurements, and I've got the 3D scanner. I think I can scan and come up with a little jig in CAD and try and just beat these out carefully. I think it's also possible because the main little portion that it sprays out of is recessed. And it looks like that this part here that's exposed is actually part of the main body. I think it should be able to come out. That's my plan. I've got really no other ideas as well. I've been soaking these and they just don't move. They're completely frozen solid. So we're gonna see if that works. We're gonna try it out. And this is what the finished mesh looks like. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to give us the mounting locations and how much space we have. I can import the generated STL from the scanner into CAD and use it as a template to model my injector removal jig. In this case, it makes it really easy to get the mounting, spacing, and sizing correct so that it will fit in every location, as well as make sure there's enough surface area on the jig to clamp into the vise. After some 3D printing, this is what I came up with. These are spacers because I got too long of hardware. This is our drift that is going to be sacrificial. And this is what I came up with to actually mount it. Let's see if it works. Wow, it actually worked. That's awesome. No wonder why these bad boys didn't want to come out. Check out this corrosion. Look at that, just these were rusted in there. And no obvious damage to the injectors themselves after that. Tips not marred, everything looks good still. Finally, all 6 injectors are out, and the only thing left to do is actually send them out and get them cleaned out, rebuilt, new seals, all that. Just have someone else do it. Hopefully that number 4 injector will resolve itself. If not, I'll probably just end up buying a new one. I'm really glad the tool worked out. I can't be the only one that's run into that issue. So if you end up working on a V6 Nissan Frontier that ends up having the same thing, I'm your guy. I'll 3D print one for you, send it out. I'll leave a link down below where you can get it. Well, while we send these out, I'm going to next focus on the vibration issue in the truck. New engine mounts, transmission mount, and the center support bearing. I think first thing is going to be jacking this thing up in the air and seeing how to even reach the engine mounts. Yeah, there's not really like a ton of room down there. Transmission mount's gonna be the easiest, so maybe I'll knock that out first. Oh, let me put it on the higher mode. That's more like it. All right, now to jack this up. How about this way? Oh, okay. Somewhere in the directions it definitely says to damage the threads, smashing them through the mounting holes, which is a problem for future me since I'm not going to bolt everything together just yet to give some slop when replacing the engine mount. Pretty sure I heard a click, so they're all torqued up and ready to tackle the engine mounts. And I think it's going to be easiest to reach it through the wheel well. So, you take the wheel off. Get off, what the hell? Alright, so here you can see the engine mount. Back there is our top bolt, and right above the front diff are the other 2. I can like just barely get the ratchet with the socket. Ah, haha! Yes! Only 2 more on the bottom. Alright, there's not a lot of space in here, but Milwaukee has these fancy sockets. It has these flats, so you can use a wrench to get into tight spaces. So there's so much crud on it, it's sticking up there. But there's not really that much space for me to show you while I'm doing it, so it's just gonna magically come out. Oh, no. Darn. I've got one of these angled wrenches up right underneath, tucked in, and we're just gonna slowly try and crack this loose. Oh, there we go. We got it. Look at that. Sometimes you gotta make your own custom tools. Finally, finally. Luckily on the passenger side, there is not a front differential in the way, so we have enough access to use real tools. You gotta be kidding me. These nuts, however, were also a struggle to remove and needed some convincing with the map gas. Very frustrating was finding the exact combination of twists and turns to get it out. Finally gave up and had to get the camera out of the way to remove it. But on the install, you just have to remember the exact combination to put the new one in. And of course, it just slides right in. New one going in. Somehow. A new one will go in. Alright, right, here's all the trashed mounts. This driver's side was actually a lot worse than I expected. Completely separated from the top and from the side here. This thing was just all loose. Passenger side was a little bit better, but completely separated from this side here and starting to crack all the way around the top. About to fail the same way. Transmission mount is also cracked almost all the way around along the sides here, and obviously is collapsed partially. So definitely on its way out. After everything finally slid into place, we can just tighten everything up, and it's just that easy. I like to rate job difficulty with how many gloves I kill, and this job sucks. Last thing on our mission to chase down this vibration is to remove the drive shaft and replace that center bearing. So I'm going to undo these guys. Here's me noticing that the drive shaft is hanging there rather precariously and thinking, that could fall into someone's head. Oh. The show must go on. The bearing actually seemed okay, but the main issue was just a cracking and separation in the rubber. Before we can take this apart, we need to mark on the drive shaft the orientation of everything because it is balanced as a complete unit. If you don't do this, you will reassemble everything incorrectly and introduce even more vibrations. This would also be a good time to replace those U-joints since going through all this effort, but I didn't think that far ahead. I did this job before on my Nissan hardbody and the bearing came off without an issue, but this time it really didn't want to be removed. Kidding me. Well, looks better than before. This is the wrong size nut. Oh my gosh. It's also why I don't throw the old stuff away until I'm actually done. You may be wondering, why is the new bearing off? Well, when I installed it, I couldn't spin it. I was like, that's not right. So took it off. Somehow, I guess, when I impacted it on, it pinched the seal there and stopped it from spinning. Not good. All right, well, that was a easy $75 mistake, and I got a new one. So let's see if I can learn from my mistake and not use power tools to install this. Okay, verify that this thing actually moves now, and I'm going to torque this down with it installed in the transmission. So mounted and everything, it'll be a lot easier to get like the 120 foot-pounds that this nut is. Done. I went ahead and got the fuel injectors back from cleaning. So got 3, 4, 5, and this one was confirmed bad. Now with these 5 good ones, I did get a flow report out of it, and we got a peak of like 5.9% increase back to baseline. I'm not sure what's considered good or bad, but I do imagine that a over 5% difference from your baseline, from what the ECU expects, for something that's supercharged, I imagine that that's not good. Since we have this guy and this bad, this guy's trash, I went ahead and I splurged. We have a genuine OEM Nissan supercharged injector. This bad boy right here, almost $400 for this guy. Insane. Let's not break him when we install him. The rebuilt injectors come with new seals, and to not tear them on install, I'm going to be using a thin coat of fresh motor oil to lube them up before firmly pressing them into place and then screwing on the retaining plate. Obviously there's 6 injectors, so gotta repeat this 5 more times. Before we go ahead and install this fuel rail, I have brand new OEM injector seals that go into the lower intake manifold. Let's lube these up, get them installed, and then we can squeeze this in. And then we gotta fix that broken injector clip. Actually, let's make sure that that clip fits. Aha. Oh, okay. Yep. Lightly oil these up. You know, one thing I am curious about, these are made in USA, but look at that old logo. Right? That's an old Nissan logo. Same with that, like, how long have these been sitting on the shelf for? If you know more about the Nissan logo lore, let me know in the comment below if they still use that, or am I right for thinking that that's an old logo? And of course, with fresh and clean fuel injectors just installed, a new fuel filter is an absolute must. All right, done. All right, everything on the top of the engine is now done. Well, that is fuel injectors, fuel system, all that stuff is now addressed, buttoned up, looks good. Next is to do the biggest maintenance item that you have to do on one of these trucks, which is timing belt and water pump. These are the 2 biggest things. This one is just due to age, ready to go for another timing belt, and hopefully I'll never have to do it again, because then the truck will just rust and disappear in thin air. So I want this to be the last time I touch a timing belt. We're also going to be replacing the radiator, so this thing is going to come out, but step 1 of this timing belt kit is going to be drain the coolant. Everything else, I'm just going to zip right through. If you want more details, go and check out the video where we did a timing belt on our Z31 300ZX or on the 300ZX Turbo that David did. But I'm going to put you guys on the time lapse and try and knock this out as fast as possible. We're all doing a good job. Couple of things I'm already noticing. This truck had the dealer do the timing belt. Whoever removed this broke the harmonic balancer. It's missing this outer edge here. This is a really common issue. These can be difficult to remove, and they broke it, didn't tell us. The other thing is whatever monkey installed this cross-threaded the stud for the water pump, making it extremely difficult to try and remove. Yeah, those are the 2 major things right now, but I've got it set to top dead center. We've got all the timing marks lined up, so should be good to remove this bolt and then try and remove the harmonic balancer without breaking any more parts off of it. May be difficult. Also, another thing I want to point out is just how loose this belt is on all the sides. That's very loose. This is very loose. And then coming across here, that's pretty loose as well. I mean, look how loose it is. I can start pulling the belt off. That's not supposed to happen. So definitely due for a belt. Thankfully, this thing is coming off with my tiny little puller. Okay, finally. With the crank pulley off, we now only have to deal with the lower timing cover in the way. Very important is to deal with the water pump next, so that when you spill coolant all over your old belt, it doesn't matter because you're replacing it. Do not get coolant on your new belt because you will destroy it that way. Service manual and the kit directions both explicitly call this out. It's also very important to clean up all your gasket surfaces, and since this is a cast iron block, I feel pretty good about using one of those 3M Rolock discs on my die grinder. And you can get in a lot of trouble with them, but don't be stupid and let the tool do the work. Install the new belt with the new tensioner, and I also checked the tensioner by measuring deflection with my carefully calibrated fingertips, and feels good. We can then also rotate the engine to make sure that we didn't get anything misaligned and that pistons won't be kissing valves, and then we're ready for reassembly. Okay, front of the engine is mostly back together. The only thing remaining on the front is the radiator, but I don't want to break that little venting coolant pipe off just yet because we still have the other things on top of the engine to reinstall, mainly the upper intake plenum for the supercharger and the upper intake. So that's still going to involve me crawling around on top of the engine, so I don't want to risk breaking it. So we're going to go ahead, start cleaning some gasket surfaces, and then slap the supercharger back on, and then button everything up. So it's going to be, all of a sudden, everything at once is going to be done. Almost forgot, but it's going to be one of the first and smallest things to tackle, is this coolant temperature sensor, which disintegrated when I first took everything apart. And good thing I checked the service manual because it notes to actually apply sealant to the threads. Wouldn't want any coolant leaks, would we? I want absolutely zero vacuum leaks, so I'm using this little sealant aid. Just gonna lightly coat the surfaces. This will also help the gasket from shifting around during the install. Oh yeah, that's not gonna move at all. Because the base plate is aluminum, I really don't want to try and get any of this stuff in the threads. It'll mess up the torque reading and be very, very easy to strip the threads. Ask me how I know, because I've done this before. And that means stripping threads before. Oh, man. Now with the supercharger installed, we can go ahead and finally install this radiator. All right, never mind. Forgot some coolant hoses in the back that I cut originally. So it's coming off. And it tore the gasket. Sick. Gonna need a new one. It's been over a month for me. And of course I forgot that that one's cut. And this one back here is cut. Oh, fuck. I did get OEM replacement hoses, though. Just forgot about them. Okay, hoses installed. So I was looking, and this hose is just awfully short to go back there and work with the intake. And I'm looking at the parts diagram, and I've freaking ordered the wrong hose. This is the actual hose. Oh my god. Well, I'll wait for the parts store to open up to get some generic coolant hose. I'm going to do what I've been putting off for a while, which is a transmission service. I'm just going to be doing just a drain and fill, not a flush. And I want to just see if I can get this transmission to shift a little bit smoother, as the 1-2 shift can be a little bit rough. This job is a little bit annoying just because there's so many bolts, and it seems like no matter how much you try, there will always be fluid left in the pan that didn't drain that is going to get all over you. Ah! Shit. Okay, filter bolts and pan bolts are all 70 inch-pounds. Most importantly, new crush washer on the drain plug. Okay, today is the last day that I can work on this. It's a hard stop. My dad's picking it up tomorrow, and it still looks like this. Still blown apart. But got the coolant hose so we can slap this upper intake together, fill it up with coolant. Still need to fill up the transmission, do brake bleed, and then we'll be done. Thankfully, this truck is still old enough to have a dipstick on the transmission, so the refill is really easy. Just get it to the cold fill line, and boom, you're done. Done. All right, was not able to get gaskets on such short notice, so we're just gooping it up. All right, the big question is ready to be answered. Did I put it back together correctly? We're gonna be testing a whole lot of stuff all at once. So it's gonna be the cleaned and new injector, the vacuum leaks fixed, the new timing belt, new spark plugs, wires, cap, rotor, all that stuff. We're gonna see if this thing makes a difference better. There's a ton of work put into it. So let's start it. All right. It's going to take a second for the fuel pump to prime. I'm going to cycle the fuel pump a little bit. Make sure there's no leaks. All right, I don't see any leaks and I don't smell any. I feel like you'll probably be able to smell it first before you see anything. Let's go check underneath and then we'll be good. All right, dry underneath. Now let's start it. All right, no awful noises, but I hear something dripping. Probably transmission fluid. Yes, that's what that is. You know, just think of this as a way to flush out the lines. All right, everything reconnected. Wow, it's running smooth. So much smoother. The door's not shaking. We'll run it just for a little bit. Oh man, smooths out so nicely. Yeah, not vibrating at all. Man, this is good. This is good. Okay, let's turn it off and we'll fill up with coolant. Wait, let me give it a little. All right, yeah, that's good. Ooh, I am so thankful. There's no funny noises, nothing crazy. It actually works. It's smoother, it runs better. Everything is fixed. Well, I guess the only thing we gotta do now is take it on test drive, right? I need to hold that coolant in somehow, and I splurged and got new OEM hoses. These just fit the best, and they're just the easiest to install. Once installed, I'm gonna use this vacuum fill tool to make sure that we can hold the vacuum first before just immediately filling with coolant and finding a leak that way. This way, don't have to waste coolant. This turned out to be a good idea because there was a leak, and now just to find it. I realized that I forgot to tighten some hose clamps, but that didn't fix it. I ended up splurging on another coolant test kit, this time one that pressurizes the system, so that I can spray soapy water everywhere and see if I can find bubbles, which I found some. And at this point, it was actually still not holding vacuum, and I was at wit's end, so I just filled up the cooling system with normal water, and I let the truck find the leak for me, which it actually quickly found. Look at that, right there, it's leaking. What the hell is that? This is actually a cold start throttle control element, and its job is to adjust throttle on cold days to increase idle. Really easy fix. All we have to do is replace that O-ring and yeah. Alright, I'm gonna set this truck on fire because this retaining screw was frozen solid. I gave it a few taps and it just broke right off of the throttle body, off of this solenoid. But you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop this, just bypass it. We don't need it. All right, just went ahead and looped the hose. I'm not dealing with this for now, but with it like this, we can go ahead and actually test for leaks again. All right, got the pressure tester hooked up at 15 PSI. We'll wait a few minutes and come back, but so far so good. It didn't hold this pressure before for this long. Great news is we finally fixed all the coolant leaks, and here's the proof. The gauge hasn't moved. We've been sitting at about 15 PSI for like 10-15 minutes now. So I think we're all good. It looks good from here. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I think tomorrow will be good to put real coolant in it. Go for a test drive. So that's all gonna happen tomorrow morning, but I'm tired, I'm beat. Get this finished tomorrow. Well, I'm pulling a vacuum on the cooling system yet again. I'm going to be doing a quick brake bleed to put some fresh fluid in there because this stuff looked nasty in the reservoir when we first started. And once it's all sucked out, we can see fresh fluid coming out. We can move on to the next corner, working from the furthest away from the master cylinder to the nearest. And we can confirm that the fluid that came out did not look good. All right, now for the fun part. All right, almost. Okay, first test drive. We'll see. It was really squeaky getting out of here. They used to always be squeaky as well. We'll see if it goes away just with driving it. So, truck definitely feels a lot better. The main vibration I was feeling in the seat and the floor, that's fixed. There's no issues there anymore. Unfortunately, didn't get it done in time to get an alignment because it still pulls to the right, but he can get that done anywhere. Transmission shifts smoothly, on off throttle feels really good. Everything feels nice. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It definitely does feel like it's firing on all 6 cylinders now. Boost actually kicks in. It feels good. We'll find an on-ramp for the highway, and then we'll really see how the acceleration feels. Oh, belt slipping. Some traffic on the highway. So annoyed about this alignment though, because look at the steering wheel, and it pulls to the right still. But yeah, no, he can get that fixed himself. But I did hear some belt squeal under some high boost, so I'm gonna tighten up one of the belts, and then I think we'll be good. I think it may just be a cheap belt causing the slip. I know how he drives, so he shouldn't ever be at 5,000 RPM. and I think I'll try a different belt later to fix the slippage for good. Belt's still slipping. And how can I forget about the wiper? I think the spring in this wiper arm lost tension for some reason, so it wasn't squeezing the wiper blade firmly on the windshield, causing it to not do its only job. And a new wiper arm should fix it. Works. Here we are, and finally at the end we managed to condense a decade worth of maintenance all into a month, and especially over these last couple of days where we hammered out some of these nagging issues. But definitely glad that we managed to fix some of the things that we knew about and the things that we found along the way. And I wanted to get a little more detail work, but just ran out of time. So this thing's got to go back. And if you want to watch me detail this and make this look nice as it drives, then you're gonna have to subscribe, and see you in a later episode.